You're listening to your host and psychotherapist, Rhonda Spaziani, on Spaz on Mental Health on greeninkradio.com.
Are you listening? He just repeated the words that came out of her mouth. Now they're listening.
Hi, this is Rhonda, and today's episode is about Scary Sibs, the aging narcissist. Narcissists hate aging. So if you're currently in a relationship with a narcissist, it may be a sibling, it could be a parent, it could be a boss, you may think, man, this has got to get better. They're going to outgrow this. They're going to age. They're going to mellow. Oh, no, that's not going to happen for the most part. Mild narcissists, maybe a little bit. Think about in your own youth. When you were young, you were totally obsessed, and if you're still young, you might still be there, but you were totally obsessed with your own looks. People were talking about you, what people thought about you. You were very self-preoccupied. And then as you age, you kind of accept that life is changing. People don't turn and look at you as you walk into a room anymore. And that's the natural progression of aging. And it's really beautiful in that as you become invisible, you become more present to yourself and you start shifting your focus from really shallow kind of pursuits and preoccupations to greater purpose in life, service, helping others. And that's the natural progression. So I think that's how it's kind of built, that when you're really great looking on the outside, you're very consumed with yourself, but as you age and that kind of goes away, then you shift and you become this really cool person. Not for narcissists. That doesn't happen. They become obsessed with retaining their looks and remaining the center of attention and getting narcissist supply. It's a really scary world for a narcissist, and it's really scary if you're in a relationship or have a family member that's a narcissist, because shit's going to hit the storm now, because it is wild when they age. And why? Because now as you age, you have to kind of accept where you are in life. So if you're not a CEO, if you're not a rock star, if you're not a movie star, if you're not doing all the things you thought you were going to do, most of us are okay with that. We're like, well, we're doing this other cool stuff. Well, I always wanted to be this or that, but it's okay that I'm not that, because there's so many other important things in life rather than what I've accomplished. It's really who I am and what I do for others that's most important. That's not happening for the narcissist. Absolutely not. So as they age, they get really, really triggered. And if you look, in reality, all the information and documentation does support that they get worse. There's a little bit of evidence that maybe they can get a little better if they have mild, but if they have pathological narcissism, no, they're not getting better. They're getting a lot worse. And they're really striving terribly to hold on to their self-concept that was always kind of insecure to begin with. And that's why they need supply, because they're always trying to feed that empty bucket and support their inflated sense of self with anybody that they can. And so when maybe they were a little bit charming and manipulative as they get older, they're not so much anymore. And you may be able to see this really evidently on the outside with them. So they may be dyeing their hair too blonde or too black, or they're working out so much and they've got the open shirt and the medallion kind of thing, or they're hanging out with younger people and dressing the same way they did 25 years ago, 30 years ago, wearing really age-inappropriate clothing. They may be getting way too much plastic surgery and fillers and stuff, and they're starting to look kind of like a creature from another planet. They are really convinced that they're really cool and that everybody thinks they're real cool, when often they're the subject of being ridiculed behind their back, like, come on, grow up, man. So they're kind of careening out of control. Their depression spikes as they age, too. So this becomes really important to understand if you're in a relationship with a scary sib, too, but in any relationship with them. So they're not going to get better. They're not going to grow out of it. It's a personality disorder. They don't have empathy. They don't have compassion. And like my sister Raina always says, you got to get away. They're like radiation. time, distance, and shielding from these people. And if they're in your life, if they're your parent or a sibling or a spouse or a child, and you don't 100% want to get fully away, limit your interaction with them as much as possible. Do the right thing for yourself, but know that they're not going to change. And so what happens when narcissist siblings age is that your parents are aging too. So what happens there is that some money may come into play. There may be power and control. And often children that are narcissists had narcissist parents. So they may have had a parent that maybe scapegoated them or neglected them, just didn't dismiss them, didn't give them any attention. And narcissist parents will do that. They'll have the golden child, the preferred child, and then they'll have the child that either have no interest in whatsoever or that they actually actively dislike and scapegoat. And then those children often grow up to be narcissists as well. There's a genetic component and there's also an environmental component. And so those narcissistic children of the narcissist may become far more pathological. Maybe there was a mild narcissist parent, but now you have pathological narcissist siblings. And now there's some money. The parents are aging or buying or selling their properties, and these narcissistic siblings get wild. And it's not just about the money, although money is a huge thing with narcissists. It's about power and control. So now they want to ingratiate themselves. And in some ways, you can feel a little bit sad for them, but don't feel too sad. Hold your compassion cards close to your chest because they're out to get you for the most part. So you may feel sorry that they didn't have the childhood they wanted, but who of us did, really? But now they're going to try to ingratiate themselves, get themselves in with their parents, and don't think that there's not some money in play, too. And they may be like overdoing it about what a martyr they are with your parents, or cutting you out of all the information, lying to you, manipulating you. That's what they do. So as the narcs charm toolbox rusts, they get even nastier, more manipulative, more lying, more threatening. So you have to be very careful. It's not a great scenario. So like I've said before, they're like sharks. They're in their own lane and they're all out for themselves. So be careful. Yes, you can be compassionate that maybe their childhood was worse than yours. Maybe it wasn't. But if it was, maybe they were the scapegoated child. That's not your thing to remedy. That's not your karmic debt at all. So the other thing that happens often with narcissists is that they're 80% more likely to get dementia. That's not a great scenario. And if they start losing it cognitively, they're really going to get wild because that's all about they always think that they can outsmart everyone, that they're smarter, they're charming, they're more manipulative. And now they're forgetful and they're going to have to rely on people. Oh my goodness, it's awful for them. And the other thing is that their depression increases often, that they're at a very high risk of suicide as they age. Really high risk. So it's kind of a scary time for them. But that, again, should not influence you from getting away or minimizing the amount of interaction. Another thing that occurs is that they really identify often with the accomplishments of their children. So as they age, then they start to transition to be really super focused on the golden child particularly, right? There may be only one child or there may be a golden child. And they really identify with their accomplishments. They are constantly bragging about them. They're showing everybody their pictures and how fabulous and their grandchildren and on ad nauseum. And then all of a sudden now they have empty nest. Now this child may become autonomous, may not be thoroughly enmeshed, may be moving on with their lives, and the child is leaving or moving out or going on and with life's, trajectory. And this parent can't handle it. Now they're going into a deep depression. And where's their narcissist supply going? Because that golden child probably has been, adoring and very close and a little mini-me. And now this child may be moving on. And if they may even try to keep the child in the house, bring in their spouse or mate. And God forbid if that spouse or mate has a different perception of the parent and, says to the child, let's get the hell out of here. Oh, watch out. Watch out. They'll be coming for you. So what do you do if you have a scary sibling, partner, boss? Again, time, distance, and shielding. Try to minimize how much your interaction with it is. And, know in reality that they're not getting better. They're not going to be more compassionate. They're going to up the game. They're going to be more depressed. They're going to need more supply. If you're in a relationship with one as they age, they're going to cheat more usually. Narcissists need supply. So what they call that is they get very unhappy when as they age and their supply is drying up. So that's called narcissist deficiency dysphoria. So now they don't have their supply anymore. They can't get it like they used to. And they're really convinced that they're all that. They start going for like younger people and convinced that these younger people are in it for just, love and desire, when often they're in it for money. Because as you age, generally you have a little bit better economic status. And some narcissists at the highest level of our government have, they have young spouses, and those people marry for money and prestige and ease of life, and not because the narcissist is hot or attractive or even pleasant for the most part. So they become very much at risk of being victimized by predators, younger predators that know, hey, they're just in it for the money. The narcissist is in it to get their supply, but the other person is in it for the money. So you want to make sure that as this narcissist is spiraling out of control, if you're in a relationship, a long-term relationship, you might want to give up on the hope at this point. They get to be better liars. They cheat more. They need more supply. It becomes harder for them to get supply, so then they just, take whatever they can get. So they become far more pathological in it. They have multiple partners. If they're at work, they'll do whatever they can to retain their position, and they often lose their positions at some point because they get found out, or people complain about the abuse and how they're treating them, and they get demoted or lose their jobs entirely, and then they're really dangerous in the relationships in their private life because they have to make up for that loss of supply. So like always, I want you to know it's not you. It's your scary sib, it's your scary mate, it's your scary child, it's your scary parent. And we don't ask for these people to be in our lives, because if they got into your life as a relationship, they're incredibly charming and manipulative. So please don't hold yourself accountable for getting in the relationship. You can get out, and life can be wonderful again without them in there, but you have to do some work. And I always say in these podcasts, please go get some help from a therapist. Talk it out with them, because it is not you. It's your scary sib. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Spaz on Mental Health. Please listen to all of our other hosts. We have some great shows. And we are sponsored by Green Ink Marketing Communications. You can find them at greenink.us.com. They bring your stories to life. See you next time.
Music provided by Immunuri. Check them out at imunuri.com. Thanks for listening to Spaz on Mental Health. Tune into greeninkradio.com to listen to other great shows hosted by a collective of imperfect gurus. greeninkradio.com, an experience for the curious mind.